and put this in the store. This boy look like somebody dead and bomb. Look at his hand. Wait, I'm doing it through the hole. Look at the boy hands. Look, the hands. His hands is as real as mine. I've never seen anybody look so friggin' real. How you have this man in the store sit down? Look at that shit. And put clothes on him and have him sit down in the window. Look at the guy friggin' face. Guys, he's in Paris. If you know anyone that missing a black son look like this, he's in Paris in the.
Y'all, is this a sign? I've been telling y'all zombies is coming. This nigga is in a zombie response vehicle. Umbrella Corporation. Nigga is I told y'all zombies was coming.
New York City is literally doomsday right now. Is somebody gonna explain to me why there's a flesh-eating bacteria in the West Waters or something, and then there's a new airborne disease in the Upper East Side that is getting people hospitalized. There's a parasite, a literal parasite, that is making people have explosive diarrhea for a month. And if that isn't enough, are you ready for this? In Midtown, everyone had to be evacuated because a skyscraper is about to fall down. Wow. And me and my roommate could not find a mask anywhere in our apartment, so I am walking around like this.
I'm trying to tell y'all, you can actually be in spiritual psychosis and just not realize you're in psychosis. Because I've been in psychosis before. Because that's the true danger of a real spiritual awakening, is you have this idea in your head now that everything is real and nothing is real. And that shit is dangerous if you're not careful. You start going down the conspiracy theory rabbit hole and all of this, you literally can lose your mind and your sanity. Because there is a light and a dark side to all things. Just because you had a spiritual awakening, that doesn't mean it was a positive thing. Some people have negative spiritual awakenings. Some people have a spiritual awakening and they only see all the negativity in the world. That's why you see those people who had a spiritual awakening and they're all about peace and love and light, and they just want to walk barefoot in nature and in the woods and smoke weed and have fun with their friends. That's a positive spiritual awakening. You have to learn to ground yourself and balance the two. There is two different sides to a spiritual awakening. There's the light side and the dark side. Some people get trapped in the light side too much and some people get trapped in the dark side too much and they become imbalanced. You need to be all about peace, love, and light and positivity, but at the same time, you need to understand about all these dark-ass conspiracy theories that exist out there. And as we know now, in modern-day times, a lot of those conspiracy theories we thought was fake, the vast majority of them shits was real. So you just need to learn balance. That's the main message behind this video.
Your spiritual hygiene requires you to gatekeep, and it requires your discernment on what you're going to gatekeep. It's not everything you're meant to give away, especially not for free. That is a dirty, dirty habit. Your quality of life is not only tied to who and what you let in, it is also tied to how much of yourself you give away and for what reasons. So when you're not actively gatekeeping certain parts of yourself, you are muddying your waters and you are dampening your aura because you lack the fundamental belief and practice in ownership and of ownership. You don't see the divine role that ownership plays in your life journey, and it's doing a lot of harm to your growth. So today I'm gonna give you the spiritual mechanics behind why you need to gatekeep, and I'm gonna give you the moments when you should be choosing to gatekeep and when you can choose to gift away information and parts of yourself to others out of goodwill. If you're on my TikTok, this is going to be 2 parts, and if you're on my YouTube, this is going to be 1 part. So the importance of gatekeeping your sauce, gatekeeping the most juiciest, sauciest, marvelous parts of yourself from others. Yes, from others. Your business secrets, your favorite perfume, your cologne. I don't care how small you think it is. If you feel it gives you an edge, keep it to yourself. Now, as we said in the beginning, the reason you are gatekeeping is for spiritual cleanliness. When I say cleanliness, I mean separateness. Okay, when we were born, we were given the gift of separateness, because before we were born and after we leave this physical plane, we are going to go back to the oneness of which we come from. Okay, that is the universe, God, our higher selves. So cleanliness is the spiritual gift we are given when we are born as individual sovereign beings, meaning that our purposes, our intentions, our desires are all separate. We are given the gift of being able to discover individual things that we want. We're all vibrating at different levels. Now, cleanliness, spiritual cleanliness, is making sure that your orbit remains separate from energies that want to invade your space. That is a lot of what spiritual hygiene is, okay? It is honoring the separateness, the gift of separateness that you were given when you were born. So therefore, it is categorically spiritually unhygienic to give bits and bobs of yourself away like you are Santa Claus on Christmas Day, because you have a contract with yourself, your higher self, to live out your life and see the fruits of your individual efforts, your individual labor, and your individual thoughts and assumptions. Defend your individuality by keeping it shut, okay? Shutting up about things that are integral to your identity, integral to how you formed yourself, how you built yourself up. You can later on choose to divulge as you wish, but you pick the information you wish to share. You don't just say, I'm an open source book for everyone to pick apart, because that is you giving up your individuality and letting people dip their fingers into your orbit. So gatekeeping isn't about being a secretive person. It's not about being sneaky. It's about choosing the parts of you to keep to yourself, because you own yourself. You are allowed to own things about yourself. Gatekeeping is healthy because you're choosing when to share, and you are choosing when to feel happy and proud that you own stuff. You are here to own experiences. You're here to experience and own it. You're here to climb up ladders and own it, and own your rewards, own your fruits. Otherwise, what's the point of your struggles? What's the point of your adversities? What's the point of all these life journeys that are bumpy? Everything that you've been through, what is the point to just dish it all away? That is not how the collective consciousness sees life. And that is most likely not how you see life anyway.
Every single one of you guys who believe that a data center is a data center, they got you. Because in this movie, right, wink wink, this is only a movie, the data center, those power the inner underworld, okay? They don't only power the underworld, they also provide water for that underworld, okay? And then in that underworld, they have humans right now that they're seeing, like, if they can survive it. And they're giving those people vitamin D because they don't come out ever to get any sunlight. But anyways, wouldn't it be interesting if in that movie a super drought happened throughout the entire world, where they privatized water right now, and only the rich could go under there and live, which could be possible, right? So it's not really a data center, it's a power center plus a water extractor, meaning when the major crazy event happens to where they don't have enough water for everybody, only the haves will be able to use these underground cities. And the interesting part is you can look at places right now in this movie, in Colorado, some places that send water down to the West Coast. They'll be at Deadpool soon. So what if we distracted the entire world, told them that we're fighting over oil, when really the wars will be over water? I'm out.
You're telling me that Germany isn't where we think it is?
Nothing's where you think it is.
Where is it?
I'm glad you asked.
And put it over here. Now you see, the United States is no longer in the middle of the map. Now I did this for the major record company in New York City, I think in 1970. And an older man stood up in the back of the room and said, "Now Elliot, you've gone too far." I said, "What's your problem?" "You can't do that with the map." I said, "Well, actually you can." He said, "No, the United States isn't in the middle of the map anymore." I said, "The United States never was in the middle of the map. You need to realize this depends on how you draw your map." And then I pointed this little map out. South America is actually 9 times larger than Greenland. No, it is. South America is actually 9 times larger than Greenland. Now, according to your social studies teachers, what is the equator? Halfway between the North Pole and South America would be right about here. And that means that Iowa has a semi-tropical climate. The sizes on this map are right. The shapes are distorted. Look at Greenland on this map. Right there. See it?
Yeah, it's really tiny.
See how small it is?
Right.
Look at it on the Mercator projection. So why do they do that? I don't understand. Why? Because the Pope commissioned Mercator to make a map that shows the spread of Christianity. So all the countries in which there are predominantly white people are larger than those in the southern part of the world.
When the top of the map is given to the northern hemisphere, and the bottom is given to the southern, then people will tend to adopt top and bottom attitudes.
But wait, where else could you put the northern hemisphere but on the top?
On the bottom.
How?
Like this.
Yeah, but you can't do that.
Why not?
Because it's freaking me out.
If you study the right knowledge, in actuality, the map of the earth is actually turned upside down. So the south is actually north. And people don't know that. These white folks are so fucking racist that they put themselves over Africa to always, not just that, to always make you feel like they're above you. Racism is so fucking deep.
Cotton bushes, fresh bag of chips, unopened. Let's get it. I love Chick-fil-A. In fact, it really sucks that Chick-fil-A is closed on Sundays. Golly, bro. Not today. Why is it that as soon as CERN shut down, the K came back in Chick-fil-A? This something. I know what you're gonna say. You're gonna be like, "Yo, bro, it's always been chick, as in chicken fillet, right?" No, it wasn't. You ain't gonna play me that way. It was always spelled CHIC before CERN shut down, right? Now it's CHICK fillet, right? Get down. I done told you, Eric. You see him? You see him? And another thing, why is it that CERN was the creator of the World Wide Web, but in Hebrew, the W translates to 666? I gotta go.
Cotton bushes are not natural. Just like those aren't mountaintops, those are tree stumps. Just like those aren't our real trees, those are really our bushes we looking at today. Just like America is really ancient Egypt. Just like you can walk to Africa from America too, through the Grand Canyon.
Y'all don't understand. This land that you stand on, that you think is America, this is actually Africa. The dear Mississippi that you love, that you know of, that's the Nile River. This is our land. You are Aboriginal Indigenous American. You are a Moorish American. So where is their green card? Where is their green card? Huh? Huh? They need weapons. We don't need no weapons. Huh? Huh? Stop calling us black. We're not African American. Know the laws of the land. Know your birthright and nationality.
I'm about to tell you is going to change the lives of a lot of people, and I hope you stick around so it can change yours, okay? I'm finna give you a technique that you can use for the rest of your life, okay? It's very simple and very quick. Let's get straight into it. I want you to realize, real eyes, I want you to realize that you are looking at my face. You can see my face, right? You are looking at my face from your eyeballs, okay? These surveillance cameras, okay? Movies wouldn't be a movie if they didn't have a camera. There would be no actors or nothing. A movie wouldn't be anything without the camera, okay? Meaning reality wouldn't be anything without the awareness, okay? So once you become hyper aware of your eyeballs, you realize these things are only looking at things. Let's sit in silence for 5 seconds and just use them. These things are only looking at things. So this problem that is appearing, this issue that is appearing is really not an issue, because I can only interact with my reality through these eyes. So if nothing is truly happening, where is the problem stemming from? All these are doing is looking. Look right and left right now. All these things do is look. So where is the trauma, the emotions, the problems, the good and bad things? Where does all of this stem from? From who? From what? Says who? Says what? So once you sit there and you realize all my eyes are doing are look like, all that's happening is just observation, the context of reality leaves. And once the context leaves, now you can immerse with the present moment, truly. Because there's actually nothing going on. There is no true linear time. Time is not foundational to reality. There is nothing truly going on like you think. Without adding any context, what are you looking at right now? Not a human. Look at my mouth moving as I talk. Nothing about this is normal. But with context, you think a human being is normal. Okay? Now are you picking up what I'm saying? Once you become hyper aware of your eyes, you then realize, real eyes, you then realize that all that is happening is what you're seeing. Everything else, it's a story that you're abiding by that is making you suffer. All you're doing is looking at me, bro. I can be talking just like this and be saying some of the most funniest shit you ever heard. Like, understand me. I hope you enjoyed this small technique and you take it with you. I love you unconditionally. Peace and love to the country and to care.
Right. This particular clip really made me stop and think for a second. Because if you strip everything away, everything, what are your eyes actually doing? They are just observing. They're not judging. They're not labeling something as good or bad. They are just simply taking in information. Everything else, that starts happening within the mind. And I don't know about you, but I've caught myself doing this so many times. Like something happens before I even have all the facts. My mind has already written an entire movie about what's going on inside of my head. I start imagining outcomes that hasn't even happened yet. I replay conversations. I'm a Gemini rising. I live in my head. That's all I'm gonna say about that. I I assume I know what someone meant when they say something. And before I know it, I'm stressed out over something that only exists within my head. That is what really stood out to me about this clip. It makes you wonder how much of our suffering comes from the actual moment and how much comes from the story that we immediately attach to it at that particular moment. Think about it. You're standing in line somewhere. Objectively, you're just standing there. But then your mind jumps in. You start thinking, this is taking forever. I'm going to be late. Why does this always happen to me? I am trying my best. Now you've gone from simply standing in line to carrying around frustration that didn't even exist until the story showed up. That doesn't mean life doesn't have real problems, because I promise you it does. We all go through difficult seasons, but I think there's something powerful about recognizing the difference between what's actually happening and what our mind is adding to it. This also reminds me of something you'll hear a lot in spiritual traditions: the observer, the witness, the part of you that can watch your thoughts without becoming every single thought. I've always found that interesting. Because if I can observe my thoughts, then maybe I'm not my thoughts. Maybe I'm the awareness behind them. Just sit with that for a second. Who are you before the story starts? Who are you before the labels, the assumptions, the fear, before your mind starts trying to explain everything? And honestly, I think most of us don't spend enough time asking it. I also think this is why so many people talk about being present in the moment. Not because the past didn't happen, not because the future doesn't matter either, but because this moment is the only place that you're actually living. Everything else exists in memory or imagination. When you really think about it, that is out of this world. Your mind can pull you into an argument that happened 5 years ago. Yes. Or it can make you anxious about something that hasn't even happened yet. Meanwhile, life is happening right here and now. Maybe that is one of the biggest distractions that we deal with. Not just what's happening around us, but the constant noise happening within us. And here's where my mind starts to wonder a little. What if one of the greatest forms of freedom isn't escaping the world? What if it's learning to observe it without immediately becoming trapped by every story that your mind creates? Imagine how different life would feel, just for a moment, if you could look at a situation and simply say, that's interesting, instead of immediately deciding it means that your whole day just got ruined. That is a practice that I'm still working on myself. But I can honestly say that the more I catch myself before the story takes over, the lighter I feel. Maybe that's what awareness really is. Not having no thoughts, but realizing that you don't have to believe every single one that passes through your mind. I'd love to know what you think about this one. Do you think most of our suffering comes from the stories that we create about our experiences? Or do you see it differently? Let me know down in the comments.
Can we talk about how when the worst things in life happen to you, you become free? I mean, truly, when you've overcame whatever the worst is for you, your whole mindset is different. Like, you don't care about what people think about you, what people have to say. You don't care how people move, whether they stay, leave, stay. It don't matter anymore. There's a different level of freedom tied to the loss of fear. You become dangerous. You become unstoppable. You become unmovable, unshakable. It just reminds me that there is a blessing in the breaking. It's almost like a gift in a way. Because any other fear that you've had before is like a walk in the park. It doesn't even do anything to you anymore.
This is one of those things that you really don't understand until you've lived through it. There are certain experiences in life that change you, not in a small way. I'm talking about those moments where everything you thought you knew gets shaken up. Maybe it's losing someone you loved. Maybe it's going through a betrayal. It could be losing something that you thought you couldn't live without. And when you come out on the other side of something like that, something shifts inside of you. You start looking at life differently because the things that you used to be afraid of don't seem as powerful anymore. You realize, wait, I survived that. Yeah. And once you realize you survived something you thought would destroy you, a lot of other fears start losing their grip. The fear of people judging you, of being misunderstood, the fear of someone walking away from you, even the fear of starting over, those things don't just disappear overnight, but they just don't hold the same power over you anymore. And I think that's the part of this clip that really stood out to me. There is a different kind of freedom that comes from no longer living your life based on fear. Because when you're constantly worried about what everyone thinks, you're not really living for yourself now, are you? You're living for the expectations of other people. You're editing yourself. You're holding back. You're trying to make sure nobody gets upset with the real version of you. But then life happens, and sometimes life puts you in a position where you realize I can't keep carrying all of this. I can't keep pretending. I can't keep letting fear make my decisions. And that's when something changes. Now, I don't think anyone would choose pain just to become stronger. Nobody wants to go through heartbreak, loss, or difficult seasons, not by choice. But I do think there's something powerful about what happens after. Because sometimes the version of you that existed before the struggle couldn't see what you were capable of. Sometimes you don't discover your strength until you're forced to have to tap into it and to use it. Yes. And from a spiritual perspective, I think this is why so many people talk about transformation after hardship. It's almost like an old version of you has to be released. The version that needed everyone's approval, the version that was afraid to take chances, the version that thought losing something meant losing yourself. And then you realize you were still here the whole entire time. You were still whole, capable, and you were still you. The thing that changed was your awareness. You started trusting yourself differently. You started seeing your own resilience. You started realizing that not everything that leaves your life is actually a loss. Sometimes it's making more room for something new. And I do think that that is where the freedom comes in. When you stop being controlled by the possibility of losing something, you become more harder to shake. Not because you don't care, not because you are cold either. It is because you fully understand that you can handle whatever comes your way. That, my love, is such a powerful place to be at. It's almost like life already showed you your own strength. So when the next challenge comes along, there's a part of you that says, I've been here before. I know exactly what I'm made of, and I know I can get through this, period. And that's a whole different kind of confidence. Not the confidence that says that nothing bad will ever happen, but the confidence that says whatever happens, I won't abandon myself. And honestly, I think that's one of the biggest shifts that a person can experience. Real freedom isn't always having the perfect life. Sometimes real freedom is realizing your peace doesn't have to disappear just because life gets difficult. And that's that on that. After watching these conversations and really sitting with them, one thing kept coming back to me. How much of life are we actually experiencing, and how much of it is just the meaning that we've attached to it? Think about it. Two people can go through the exact same thing and walk away with two completely different perspectives. Not because the event changed, but because the story they told themselves about it was different. And I think that's something a lot of us overlook. Sometimes life is a way of shaking everything up. the things we thought mattered doesn't seem as important anymore. We stop worrying so much about keeping everyone happy or living up to others' expectations. Little by little, all those layers that we've built around ourselves, they start falling away. What's left is just you. Not the version that's trying to fit in, not the version that's constantly proving something, just the person you've been underneath all along. Maybe that's why difficult seasons end up changing us so much. Not because anyone enjoys going through them, but because they force us to see ourselves differently. For me, awareness isn't about having all the answers or learning every spiritual concept that's out there. It's about paying attention to your thoughts, your reactions, the fears that quietly influence your decisions without you even realizing it. Because once you notice them, you actually have a choice. You don't have to believe every thought that crosses your mind. You don't have to keep carrying stories that don't fit the person that you're becoming. You do not have to do that. And that's where real freedom starts. Life isn't going to stop throwing challenges your way. We all know that. But when you stop letting every situation define who you are, something shifts. You become a little more grounded, a little more at peace. You remember that you made it through hard times before, and you'll probably make it through this one too. So, before you click away, I want to leave you with the one question. What's one story you've been telling yourself that you're finally ready to let go of? Maybe it's that you're not enough. Maybe it's that you're too late. Maybe it's that your past gets to decide your future. Whatever it is, I want you to sit with it for a while. Sometimes the biggest transformation doesn't happen because our circumstances change. Sometimes it happens because we finally stop believing the story that's been keeping us stuck. If this conversation gave you something to think about, I'd love to hear your perspective down in the comments. And if you're into conversations like this, where we explore consciousness, spirituality, and the deeper questions that most people never slow down long enough to ask, then make sure you are subscribed to Spirit Cipher Collective so you don't miss the next one. Thank you for spending a little time with me today. And with that being said, I love you, love you, love you. And I will see you on the very next video.